honestly, I always say like we are missing in the real estate course a big section on the psychology of dealing with people during this time. And you know what? Often we work with people in a very happy situation. They're excited for their first home. They're moving up to a nicer home or bigger home or whatever it is, right? They just had a baby or got engaged, and that's great. But a lot of times we also are working with people in distress situations. You have divorces, you have deaths, and there's a lot of emotion, whether it's on the happy side or the sad side of what's going on in their life, that goes into it. And the process itself is so stressful that, yes, we absolutely have to manage not only expectations, but also be almost hold our client's hand and be their support and their reasoning voice during that time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. Today we have, she's a mover and a shaker, so we got her in her car today, Enas Latif. She comes to us from Buffalo and the Niagara area. Well, we're in the same state. It's quite far from us, but I will say Buffalo is the Buffalo Bills are the only football team that's actually in New York. And they're doing great. Congratulations. Are you a football fan?
Not too much, but everybody in Buffalo is for sure. It's definitely a Bills environment here, especially from now until the season ends.
Exactly. See, in our parts of the woods, our season ends like when it begins. So at least you get a playoff. You at least have a season when it's still cold out. So that's good to hear. So you're 24 years in real estate. Has that all been in the Buffalo area?
Yeah, it's actually been a little bit over 25 years now. And yes, I started in Buffalo recently in March of 2025. I expanded the team into the Tampa, Florida market as well.
Wow, that's Buffalo and Tampa. So let's first talk about you've been doing it for over a quarter century almost, and I'm a newbie. This is like my ninth year doing real estate. Over those 25 years, how has real estate changed, and how have clients changed, and how have you changed to deal with those clients?
Oh my gosh, that's a loaded question. So I always joke about how easy Asians today have it with technology in comparison to what we used to have to deal with when I first started in the business. And by that, I feel that people take it for granted that you can use Authentisign to sign contracts. We used to have to meet the client, sign the contract, negotiate, go back and forth with initialing. And once it was agreed upon, have the client sign it again, take copies to the seller, copies to the agent, copies to the attorney's office. So it took a lot of our time. So really, technology is helping us become way more efficient. I remember having to use my map book in the car to map out my directions from one showing to another. And now then we actually graduated to MapQuest, which was amazing. But
Well,
now we have
Map
GPSs.
MapQuest was only good until there was a roadblock. Because if the road was
Exactly.
closed, you were like, what am I going to do? So then you had to pull out your Rand McNally map and go old school.
Exactly. Now you can just say, "Hey Siri, take me here."
Yeah. So technology, so it's good that you pivoted into technology because really in everything, right? Technology always changes. So how do we evolve into that? Things that about technology are good is that you obviously can be more productive. Our clients are also much smarter now because of having the iPhone or a Droid phone in your hand. It's really a computer. They're already seeing the house before you even open the door, right? So they have a sense of is it something they want to see or not. And in the past, they would have never really known that because it would have just been an address that they might have seen in an ad in a newspaper, right? That there was a house for sale or a
Yeah,
sign on a lawn.
absolutely. So with technology, of course, the client or the consumer got a lot smarter, but also in terms of, to your point, maybe now we have to show a client a handful of homes before they decide on one that they want to move forward with versus when I first started in the business. to your point, they had to physically see the home and the yard and the street to decide if it's right for them or not. So we used to show probably about 25 to 30 homes to a client before they found one that they liked. And with that, too, I believe that consumer behavior obviously changed quite a bit since I started the business till now. And the urgency and their expectations, for instance, if they inquire about a home, consumers today and research shows they want to hear back in less than 5 minutes, versus it used to be completely okay and acceptable to get back to someone in 24 hours, right? Within that first 24 hours.
So now with the age of technology, offers can come in faster. Sometimes offers will come in for people that are around the country or around the globe and not even in the house. You and I have both sold houses where the clients haven't seen the house until the day of closing.
Yes, yes, exactly. So opened up the market. Absolutely. The pool of buyers is definitely larger with the presence of being able to market properties on the web versus local papers like we used to back in the day.
I think that makes it more challenging because back in the day, like you said, it took longer for offers to come in. So now there's this sense of urgency where something's on the market, and if it's priced appropriately and it's hot, you better get there ASAP because offers are going to be coming in right away. And you don't want to be behind the eight ball. You want to make sure that your clients' offers are make sense and give them a chance if that's what they want for if they want that house.
Yeah, you're not wrong. With technology, there are pros and cons, and it can make us more efficient for sure. But it also makes our day to day a lot more stressful. And you're right, the urgency in getting back to people, the urgency in scheduling that showing, and all of that creates more stress for our day to day life of a realtor.
I think that it made our job harder because back 25 years ago, after 5 o'clock, the people probably didn't even expect that you were going to. There was, I guess, 25 years ago, there was email, but think about a time even before that where the message wasn't probably going to be somebody would have had to call into your office and either speak to you or leave a message. And when you came in and got the message, that's when you would have had it. So now, back then a message could maybe wait hours right until the next day, but now generally our clients are going to want, if they text you now, you're probably going to have to respond to them in the next hour or so. Is that, you feel that's true?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think an hour is even too long for some people. They're already frustrated. They text you and they expect an immediate answer. That instant gratification society that we live in definitely is trickling into our industry and what people expect from their agent and from the industry as a whole. Yeah, absolutely.
You feel that if you put in a full price offer, then either accept, why aren't you accepting it? And you need to accept pretty quickly, right? So it's, I gave you what you wanted, where here's all of our paperwork. But I do think it makes for, so what's interesting is a lot of information about houses, communities, whatever, can be searched on the internet. But as we both know, lots of that information is not correct. So I think a lot of our job is also to help our clients. Like, so it's not, I don't feel like our job's going away. I just think that our job actually has become more important because we have to basically, what information is correct and what information is important in our clients who need to buy and sell homes.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit it on the nose, actually. Just like I can go on ChatGPT and ask it about all the symptoms that I'm having and what could it be and what should I take for it or do for it, it's not always accurate and it could be dangerous, right? So I always use that example because our health is our wealth, but also a home, whether you're buying or selling, is often the largest investment in one's life. And do you want to take that risk with it and make a big mistake that can cost you a lot of money or maybe all of it? Right, the possibility of a lawsuit, there's so many possibilities in this transaction, usually when you're buying or selling. And I do believe in hiring a professional for things that you're not the professional in. And I live by that. So I'm the professional in what I do, and that's what I can help you with from beginning to end and help guide you and service you throughout the whole process. where I rely on other professionals to help me with my other needs in life. It's really no different than that. Yes, you can find the information online, but you do need that guidance and that representation more than anything.
So I just had a house that I'm helping clients. I took listing photos, the video, everything was all set. And then my clients, what happens if we find the buyer? And I'm like, okay. And I had a conversation what that looks like. And they're like, it was a client that for in 2021, they bought their house. I actually wrote a book, The Adventures of a Real Estate Broker, and they're profiled in my book. It's the chapter, The Ladies Rules. But it was a neighbor who is sizing their house and basically wanted to figure out, can they buy this house off market so that they don't have to get involved in getting on the market and overbidding and all this other stuff. And so what's amazing about the client is the loyalty that they had, and they understood that it's not so easy, and you need to be a professional, because they could have done a lot of things. They could have not used me. They could have asked me to reduce, but they didn't. All they said was, Danny, please represent us. The other people they're actually lawyers. They're going to represent themselves, and please represent us. And it's amazing to have those relationships where they didn't try to cut me out. They didn't try to do. And then, of course, that it was still a negotiation, and there was give and takes. And it's a very big house. So I'm blessed that anybody would want me to do that. But there was certainly a lot of money on the table. So it was nice to know that we must be doing something right, that it was almost a layup of this person coming to their door, but yet they still know that there's more to closing than just getting a price. It's negotiating, inspections. It's everything that we do getting to the closing table.
Absolutely. And especially in New York State, we're an attorney state, and there's so much in that people don't realize when it comes to managing the transaction from that sale all the way to close, successful close, because really, to me, selling a property is the easiest part. It's managing that transaction and everything that could come up during that transaction and finding solutions for any problems, or being proactive to avoid certain problems from even becoming a problem, being ahead of it as well. Which, if you're not doing this on a day-to-day basis and really understand the industry and the transaction, it's almost impossible for someone to navigate through.
So it was interesting in this last deal that I'm referring, like they thought that the buyers were being maybe a little firmer or stricter, and I'm like, this is actually an easy one. So it's our job also is, besides to understand and provide the proper information, is also we're psychologists, right? Because people think that, oh, they're difficult, and you're like, and a lot of times we're just there to be like moving deals along, letting people know, no, this is actually more normal. It's not the biggest deal. And then to try to be a sounding board and to help people feel comfortable about the deal. That I feel the psychological aspects of what we do is clearly more important than opening a door and having someone walk through. A lot of people could do that. If that's what our job was, they would automate that already, and they would already give out like the code to the people, to the
Yeah.
buyers. But that's the least of what we do.
Absolutely. Honestly, I always say, like, we are missing in the real estate course a big section on the psychology of dealing with people during this time. And you know what? Often we work with people in a very happy situation. They're excited for their first home. They're moving up to a nicer home or bigger home or whatever it is, right? They just had a baby or got engaged, and that's great. But a lot of times we also are working with people in distress situations. You have divorces, you have deaths, and there's a lot of emotion, whether it's on the happy side or the sad side of what's going on in their life, that goes into it. And the process itself is so stressful that, yes, we absolutely have to manage not only expectations, but also be almost hold our client's hand and be their support and their reasoning voice during that time, and give them the proper advice and help them see things that maybe they're not seeing because of the emotional state or stressful state that they're in.
I know from just talking to you, I know that you have it in you. It's in your DNA, in certainly 25 years plus. But I don't think I don't think you learned any of the stuff that we're talking about in a class or whatever. It's just, it's in you. And it's from your entire life of growing up and dealing with people that like what you just said and how we need to be the best agents that we can. I don't think you can really teach that, right? Like you're a team leader. So, you're very
Mhm.
successful as an individual agent, team lead, and all that. But how do you try to train or educate? Because it's not train. How do you educate and instill those things that you've just said to people on your team? Or do you think you can only help tweak it? And if they don't have it in them, they don't have it in them. And it's really a hard thing to teach.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I didn't really think about it that way, but now that you asked the question, I would have to say that I really try to surround myself and not only, but I'm naturally attracted to realtors who I'm interested in to be on my team, who maybe have a similar approach to mine, similar values to my values. And so I've been pretty fortunate that my team members are on the same wavelength as I am with this and with how we service our clients. And sometimes when they're in a situation, it's different when I'm looking at it from as an outsider. They may get upset or they may get overwhelmed, absolutely. But we do collaborate, my team members and I, and often I'll just break it down and remind them, well, let's think about why did the client say this or behave that way? What is going on? How can we handle this with care? And just remind them of the human aspect of the transaction. And I always say, to me, I want to treat people the way I want to be treated. If I lost a loved one and I'm leaving my home that I raised my kids in for 30 years, how would I feel in that moment? And how would I want someone who I'm hiring to help me sell the house treat me? And what kind of help do I need from them during that process? That's how I try to do it, really. Just put myself in their position. And that's what maybe I try to teach my team members too. But I've been fortunate to have great people on my team, so it hasn't been a problem.
I see from out there, it's either you have it or you don't. We can tweak others, but if you just don't
Mhm.
know, it's innate in being a salesperson, or at least we're not really. I don't think I sell anything, by the way. I think what we're doing is really we're about client relationship building, right? People need to sell things, they need to buy things, they need to rent things. Our job is just to get information and help in that process so that those things can get done. I never sell a house, right? If you don't like the house, we're not buying that house and we're going to move on. And actually, I would say that as I walk through houses, I'm probably giving them the reasons why not to buy the house, why it's not right for them, or it's too expensive or whatever. Or, wow, this house is really good. And if you like it as much as I like it for you, then we need to take action, but not really ever selling, except if the only time I would sell someone is when I feel that based off of all the parameters they've given me, this is a house that makes sense for them. But it's not, I don't feel like it's selling.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Daniel, because I approach it that we're a service industry. We're servicing our clients and supporting our clients, representing their best interests. If we don't have a product to sell, right? If we worked, maybe if one of us worked for a builder and they had plan A, B, and C to sell, then that's a product someone is trying to sell. Where we're playing matchmaking, really, trying to find the right home for the right buyer based on their wants, needs, and families' needs and so forth. But if they're selling too, we're trying to help guide them through that process as well and make it as seamless as possible, as stress free as possible, even though no matter what we do, there's a huge load of stress that sometimes realtors forget that the client is going through.
I agree. I've had clients where selling their parents the pass, selling their parents' house, and it was actually someone that I knew, and she needed that time just to go in her mother's bedroom and cry because it was really her last connection to her mother. And
Mhm.
he just knew that. And it was like, so you have to, of course, it was probably pre-closing or something like that, and I didn't expect that was going to happen, but that's it doesn't matter. You have to give the person the time because we're dealing with people's feelings, emotions, and it just was something that then you make the time for it. You make it happen, and if it means a delayed close or whatever, we'll get there. But we need our moment, and so I think that taught me that you can never expect what's going to happen, and then you need to, you said it before, you really said that it's about the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. And if you were buying a house, how would you want to be treated? And so I think it's probably a good way to live in all life and everything, but certainly in our business, treating people at least as good as you would want to be treated, if not better, is probably something that has kept you going for 25 plus years.
Absolutely. And I love what I do. I love working with people. I've met amazing people during my journey and looking forward to who else I will be meeting in the future. Obviously, we come across some not so great experiences with different personalities, so forth. But if anything, to me, I look at it as a learning experience. And I always learn something from that difficult experience if it's not a perfect personality match with someone. But one advice I would give realtors is that, I started in a business very young at a time where there weren't really too many young realtors. So I was already stereotyped that I'm a kid in the industry. And it was a little bit more difficult for me to earn the clients or the consumers' trust, right? They're not used to seeing someone in their early 20s as a realtor in our area, at least. So I, for so long, put on this persona and dressed a certain way and all of that, trying to gain that trust. And frankly, that was a big mistake. And I'm finding that the more authentic I am and the more authentic my realtors are, the more likely they're going to attract, and I'm attracting the right type of person and client to me, who I will end up and they will end up enjoying the experience and working really well. We end up working really well together. So that's one thing I learned that's honestly huge. And if I have one advice to anyone out there who's a realtor, especially newer realtor, just be yourself. You'll attract the right client. If you're constantly having difficult clients, it's because you're not being yourself and the personalities are not meshing.
I think that's fantastic. For me, this was my third career. So always in sales and marketing, but third career of an industry. And so what I didn't have to be different about was old, right? You can see I have a beard, I have gray hair, I'm old. So I didn't have to do that because I agree with you. Like a 20, 21-year-old, some people would be like, how am I buying a house from you? How old are
You're a
you?
kid.
And you probably never bought anything. And so there is some benefit to me owning out, being a homeowner, and I've rented before. So I've been where they've been before. But I didn't have that experience. So what I did was I started really as a buyer's agent, right? And I would and lower end, like condo apartments and low end. And you know what? Because other people might not have wanted to do that. And I wasn't going to ever have anybody beat me for being hard. You could be bigger than me, better than me, older, and you've done stuff, but you're not going to work harder than me. And so I was going to take buyers out. And then I learned that doing 25 deals a year, 50 deals a year, right? Where those buyers become sellers. And now that I'm 8 or 9 years in, I think it was in like year five, I looked at the end of the year, I had 52 deals. 26 were lists and 26 were buy side. So it just happened and now it's sometimes people want me to sell, sometimes they want me to buy, but it's really about having the grit and determination. And if you're going to be young, then do rentals and do open houses and get yourself out there, because if people see how hungry you are and that you can understand and how to help people, they'll let you do that, and then eventually that's how you get your experience. I guess at some point I'll have to do the opposite of what you did, and I'm gonna have to act too young, right? Because they're gonna be like, oh, I'm only 56 years old, but at some point they're gonna be like, maybe a millennial or a Gen X or Gen Z doesn't want to deal with somebody who's older, right? They're like, oh my God, that's my grandpa. ultimately, I can't force anyone to want to work with me. All I can do is show that if it's WhatsApp, if it's communicating on WhatsApp, then I need to do it. If it's Zooming, if it's whatever, I have to be able to flex and be able to be the agent that whomever the buyer or seller needs me to be, because that makes sense to you. So from a clothing standpoint, I that's something that I've always been able to be just me, right? Maybe the first time I meet you, I might be wearing pants, even in the winter. Maybe not in Buffalo's older, but it's cold here. If I'm just going to go see one or two houses, I want my clients, if they're wearing sweats because they're coming from the gym or wearing shorts because they just played tennis, please wear whatever you want to do. I sometimes even tell my clients there's no dress codes for our showing. If it's flip flops or whatever you want to do, be you. But I love what you said about being authentic, right? Because that's I only can be me, and I'm not going to be somebody else. And I'm not a suit guy. I'm not wearing a suit for showings because I figured what's in my brain and the words that come out of my mouth is probably going to be more important to my clients than what I look like or the car that I drive or don't drive or whatever. And but being authentic and really caring about people so far seems to be something that's worked out in my 8 years. You're three times that.
Now I sound a lot older than you when you say it that way.
I think you started when you were
Absolutely.
15 though. So that's okay. And you look better, but you're so that's all good. Let me explain to me a little bit how you pivoted from being in Buffalo in Niagara area and then how are you doing also in Florida? That's interesting to me. What made you think of doing that?
Long story short, my family and I went on vacation to Florida about 5, 6 years ago. And this is a story I always tell, but a bit longer. So bear with me. We got in, we had woke up very early to catch our flights and everything else. And we all said we rented an Airbnb and we all said, oh, we're just going to lay down for a little bit before we go out to dinner. We had the sliding door open. It was right on the ocean. And with the sounds of the waves and the breeze and all of that, we all fell asleep in our clothes till the next morning. So I remember waking up and looking at my husband and I said, I'm going to buy a property here. Of course, he hears a lot from me, but a year later, COVID happened, and as New York State was a little bit too strict, and I'm a people person, and that was not mentally healthy for me. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go buy a property in Florida, and I did. And I was dealing with a lot of agents there. I started exploring different markets. I started realizing how many of our clients are moving to that particular area, how many people were from Western New York that lived in the area that I chose. And it became a dream of mine about 5 years ago that one day I am going to sell real estate here. So I met an agent who joined my team, very smart, hardworking, diligent, consistent. And I immediately knew, hey, he might be the guy that I can do this with. But I didn't say anything. So he worked for me for about 2 years in Buffalo, but he's always wanted to live somewhere warmer. He's from New York City, so he's really has no ties to Buffalo. And I approached him with what I was thinking. He was excited for the opportunity. We took about a year of planning because to me, failure was not going to be an option. So we had to be very strategic, plan it, plan our marketing, interview brokers, all of the above. And then we launched in March of 2025, and it's been amazing. We already in a new market with one agent on the ground or boots on the ground. We're able to close over 5 million in business with a trajectory of 12 million for next year. So yeah, it's been an amazing ride. And I just happen to be lucky to have the right person by me to partner up with and do this with. Yeah.
That's great. The more I've done some interesting things with clients where I was watching a client, he does a lot of business, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting, and how he's using tax codes, and I'm like, oh, okay. I send him listings all the time, and he's an active investor, and we're buying, we're selling for him. And this year he was thinking about buying in Beacon, New York, a firehouse. It was a firehouse that where he wanted to make into a retail space on the bottom and then apartments above. And just from understanding and talking and learning from him, I think it's always good to learn from anywhere, especially learning from a client. And my wife and I ended up we have 25% investment in this firehouse. And so it's interesting to see where that goes. And so I love the idea of being open-minded. You had a dream, you did it. Mine is, okay, how am I going to divest? And also what's good is I'm doing with a client, and it makes me a better real estate agent and a broker the more I learn about other types of investments, right? So it's not just me selling to things and telling people, good, give me my commission and good luck. I'm actually involved in and embedded in the success of this venture. So it's cool to be able to have that passion and to do something and to make it happen. So we both
That's
did something like
amazing.
that this year.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I want to thank you for coming on this week's episode. You certainly have a way about yourself, friendly, smart, hardworking. Those seem to be and full time, right? Those are the things that seem like we'll take everything by storm by having that personality and that work ethic.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it. You have anything to add before I sign off?
No, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity, and we had a great conversation. So I'm excited.
So the next thing that you need to do, I wrote a book this year too.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I'm going to send you an email. I think it's $10, $10. And it's
Okay.
about my adventures. And I think if you on Amazon, I think you have a good story to tell. You might want to think about that too.
I would love to. It didn't come up. I'm also an immigrant, and I had the challenges of the cultural limitations and family beliefs
I
and
didn't
things
think
like
that
that.
was a I didn't think that was a Buffalo
Yeah.
accent. I just want you to know that.
Yeah.
But where did you immigrate from?
From Jordan. Amman,
Okay.
Jordan.
Nice.
Yeah, so I
Nice.
always wanted to share a story in a way that maybe empowers women too, especially women in cultures like mine that have to not only learn a new language, a new country, new culture, but also break through their own limitations, family limitations, cultural limitations, and religious limitations to do what they really want to do and chase their dreams. And they can be successful. There's so many smart women in my culture that are just limited and held back. And it's so sad to me. And they live unhappy the rest of their lives. So if there's a way that I could inspire girls like me and women like me, I would love to do that. And it's part of why I do what I do. And I wanted to show my girls that they can do what I do.
Wife's a partner in a law firm. My daughter's a lawyer. I totally agree 100%. Listen, America's supposed to be the land of opportunity for everybody, right? And hopefully we'll get back to that where people can come here with a dream and work their ass off and do well, regardless of what color you are or your sex. Our country's at is at a turning point right now. Hopefully we'll be able to, immigrants is what built our country. And obviously, you're a success story, and America's blessed to have you coming here from Jordan. That is what makes our country amazing. And so
Thank you so much.
we need to keep that going because I'm not an American Indian. I wasn't here originally. My family came in from Europe, and 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 that's what our country's always been about, taking people from around the world to make it even better.
Saying all of
Hopefully
this.
we'll
I don't know.
and
Can you hear me still?
hopefully we'll be able to have people from all over the world coming as well. And so that's awesome. And congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. So I would love to chat with you sometime, maybe about how you went about writing your book. I'd love to read it, of course. I'll
Sure.
order it right away. And yeah, that's something I definitely
It's
want to
not so
do.
hard. It's not so hard. My writer actually was all done through phone calls and Zooms, right?
Yeah.
And then she wrote it down for me. And
That's what
then
I
and
need. That's what I
yes,
need. I would love if you share the info
I
on
paid her
that.
$20 an hour. Right? I paid
Okay.
her, right? And then she would send me a bill, I'd pay it. And then my wife, though, again, I surround myself by smart women. My wife was my editor because who better knew me than my wife? And you'll see, you'll read the book and you'll see if you think it's okay.
That's amazing. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, and absolutely, I'd love to, if that's what you want to do, I definitely, it's not that expensive to do. And with Amazon Kindle publishing, it's print on demand. It's very low cost.
Yes, yes, I would love it. I would love it if you
Okay,
shared
well, it
that
was
information with
great. It was great speaking with you. I wish you so much success. Thank you very much. And hopefully, they don't say, a lot of cultures, you don't say goodbye. You say until the next time we speak. So let's do one of
I love
those.
that.
Thank you so much. So, Enas Latif, thank you so much, and best of luck in Buffalo, Niagara, and in Florida. And look forward to watching you keep growing and flying. So, with that, thank you very
Thanks.
much, everyone. It's Daniel Berger with the Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. Till next week, thank you for joining in. If today's stories opened your eyes, wait till you see what's next. Hit the video on screen to join the next adventure with Daniel Berger.